Hello, Wastelanders! Fans of the incredible Mega Quest mod, America Rising 2 by Otalino, know that the most significant choice of the mod, apart from whether to join the infamously antagonistic Enclave, is who should lead it. In a previous video, I made a lesser of two evils case for siding with Colonel Whitehill and her relatively moderate leadership approach. But it is time we take a look at General Russell Ward, self-proclaimed savior of the Commonwealth. Is he the one who should shape its future? Many of those who play America Rising 2 are drawn towards obvious leadership qualities. The consummate alpha, Ward has a strong, well-defined character right out of the gate. His take-charge approach and complete conviction also earn the admiration of demoralized Enclave personnel who are looking for someone to lead them after a long streak of losses. But another compelling aspect of General Ward that is often overlooked is how remarkably he resembles ourselves, the player character. Let's begin with the obvious. In the case of Nate, they both share a pre-war military background. Both the player and Ward are pre-war survivors cryogenically transported through time into a changed world. Ward is a family man with a spouse and child, but the spouse has died while he was frozen in a vault and his child was replaced by a synth and used by the Institute for their DNA. Sound familiar? Both Ward and the player are burdened almost upon awakening with a leadership role as the general in charge of a defeated faction that is now dispersed and in disarray. So how, if Ward is like a more experienced and resolute version of the player character, could we be asking ourselves if Ward is the problem and not the solution? Well, it boils down to this. Ward never changes.
War never changes.
In fact, the most salient feature of General Ward is his rigid adherence to exactly the man he was before, and his insistence that the world return to exactly the way he preferred to see it.
It's been over 200 years, my God!
Ward never changes. Let's take a look at Ward's approach throughout the America Rising 2 storyline. We, the player, first encounter Ward in a government wing of Vault 111, the very same cryo facility that we found ourselves awakening in. He and the other pre-war Enclave personnel are cryogenically frozen there in the same way as the player character was frozen in the vanilla game. Once we awaken Ward and the others, we immediately begin to see a few of his core traits revealed. In his first conscious moments in the vault, Ward is suspicious of the player and demands answers. He also expresses immediate outrage that the situation has not gone exactly as the 210-year-old pre-war plan intended. Ward's first and only reaction is to reconnect with the systems and structures he knew before the war, and he sits at his terminal intent on resuming exactly where he left off.
Everyone remember their orders prior to entering the pods?
Yes, sir.
Good. Now maybe our fellow Vault Dweller can help us. Fill them in, Lieutenant.
When we ask about the nature of his goals and affiliations, he stubbornly maintains that it is classified government information, even though that government effectively stopped functioning 200 years ago.
Why should I help you?
In the interests of national security, I cannot tell you. But surely you understand the merits of serving your country. You can join us in rebuilding it, or you can turn your back on it as a traitor. Just know that you're either with us or you're against us.
And this isn't just at the outset. He never adjusts. General Ward doesn't question his decision to return to a plan that went off the rails generations ago and maintains his impatience with all things that don't align with that plan.
If we can regroup, we can work together to restore the country.
If we decide to follow him, this insistence leads to a series of dangerous recovery missions at dormant former military installations like the satellite array, the vertibird refueling station, and eventually the Atlantic oil rig, former Enclave base of manufacturing and operations.
My God.
I'm not seeing anyone. Are those corpses?
Even as we help Ward retake forsaken old bastions of Enclave power, Ward's disgust in the face of anything that reminds him that the world has changed is palpable. To demonstrate this, perhaps it is best to let Ward speak for himself.
I remember the time before the bombs fell. Those were days of peace and prosperity in our great America. We never had to fear stepping outside. We did not need to worry about the safety of our children. There were no raiders or foul mutant creatures threatening our hopes of survival. Now is the time to bring those days back. I remember visiting beautiful green parks with my family on lovely warm days. Children and family pets playing in the grass, and what do you have now? A wasteland crawling with terrible creatures, poisoned with radiation. A place where you have to fight for your next meal. This isn't the America I knew. But the Enclave is here, and we have a vision for the future of this country. A better America, reminiscent of those old days, the good old days. Rid of all the disorder, the uncertainty that has plagued this land for so many years. Help us to help you, and together we can bring back what we lost.
Mutations, which are present at the cellular level in virtually everyone who didn't step fresh out of a vault, are just a simple reality of life now. But Ward finds all types of mutation intolerable. He remains completely dedicated to the Enclave's mission to weaponize the FEV virus as a plague and destroy all the inhabitants of the Commonwealth that have suffered a large amount of radiation exposure. He entreats all Americans to trust and follow his leadership, even though his plan will wipe out nearly all of the people listening to his broadcasts, including most of the loyal and beleaguered Enclave remnants in the Commonwealth who look to Ward for leadership. Among this number is Morgan Whitehill, colonel of the Enclave and survivor of the defeat at Raven Rock and the disaster on the oil rig.
General Russell Ward, United States Army, just what the hell is going on here?
General, we need to talk.
When Ward establishes contact with the Enclave government, he finds a like-minded ally in Senator Matthews, a man whose power and privilege depend entirely on maintaining the fiction of a U.S. that no longer exists.
General Ward, the chiefs of staff are currently indisposed, but I wanted to make your acquaintance.
The fever dream of an enduring pre-war America with men like themselves at the helm is all Ward and Matthews care about, and together they aggressively move forward with their genocidal FEV plans.
Tell me, did Dr. Kane make it out of the vault with you?
She did, Senator.
After Matthews arrives on the rig, the player can interrupt an argument where Colonel Whitehill's objections to dispersing the FEV are shouted down by Ward and Matthews.
Move on. This is a terrible.
That is enough, Colonel. You are completely out of line.
Morgan, I have heard your concerns. I assure you I will take them on board. Now get out.
Ma'am.
Not now.
Actually, now is the perfect time to examine Whitehill's misgivings.
I don't want to die.
Stop whining. Fortunately for you, your radiation levels are too minute for FEV K9b to react. This is it. The ultimate weapon against the wasteland. No need to inoculate, and no cure for those vulnerable to it.
You've done it, Doctor. This is just what we've been waiting for.
Simply incredible, don't you think?
To be clear, what Ward wants to do is release an engineered biological weapon that targets mutated lung and organ tissue and kills its victim by drowning them in their own fluids. Something like mustard gas, but activated at the DNA level, and only activating in those who have had enough radiation exposure to tweak their DNA. This damages irradiated creatures, kills ghouls and supermutants quickly, and kills regular people with some genetic mutation more slowly. Few outside of Vault survivors, Institute members, and the singularly privileged, like Senator Matthews, would be unaffected. The power struggle between Ward and Whitehill boils down to Whitehill's concern for her fellow slightly irradiated Enclave troops living in the current day, and Ward's desperation to be rid of anything that reminds him of living in the current day. Out of options, Whitehill approaches the player with a plan to overthrow Ward and Matthews.
This goes far beyond that. What I'm going to propose sounds extreme. Is extreme. But there really is no other option. General Ward firmly believes in the Senator's plan, and we don't have the authority to stop the FEV distribution system from being built. I'm afraid the only choice we have is to eliminate Senator Matthews and General Ward.
If the player character refuses to help, Whitehill can flee the Enclave, causing Ward to vow revenge and fixate on her betrayal in a series of his characteristic radio broadcasts.
She was one of us. Never would have suspected she was a traitor.
What? That snake, I knew she couldn't be trusted. Traitors like her are what keep derailing the Enclave's goals. Where is she now?
Loyal Americans, I have some grave news for you. It has come to our attention that there was a traitor amongst our ranks, one Colonel Whitehill. She had attempted to commit treason, crime I'm sure you all understand cannot be tolerated, nor forgiven. She has gone into hiding, so I appeal to each and every one of you. If you have any information on her, report it to one of our friendly patrols. I promise you will be greatly rewarded.
This might be a predictable reaction in some ways, but it also resembles the way Bolshevik revolutionary leader and idealist Leon Trotsky was driven out of Russia, villainized, and hunted by his former compatriot and aspiring authoritarian, Joseph Stalin. The ruthless communist dictator Stalin, who slaughtered more people living under his rule than any leader in history, is not someone Ward would enjoy being compared to, probably because of the communist part. But if he walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, I'm going to call it like I ducking see it.
Go get that beryllium agitator, Major. Do not let me down.
That isn't to say that Ward has no sympathetic moments. The player, whose character has lost a spouse and a child because of the war, might feel compassion for Ward when they find out that he had a daughter, Vanessa, and a wife, Margaret, that didn't survive. His daughter's journal pages, spread around Ward's former upper-middle-class home in Fairview Estates, reflect on how far his priorities took him from his family in their final days together, and how he fled to the vault without them. But we see that the combination of his safe was his anniversary date. And as he talks about losing his family, his voice is quieter and more broken than we have ever heard.
They left this behind, though. It looks like my daughter left a note. It's about having to bury Margaret after the bombs. I should have been there. I never stopped to consider a life without my family. Coming here now, it's difficult. I need to see through our mission. I must save America, or I'll have abandoned my family for nothing.
Visiting the grave that his daughter Vanessa dug for his wife Margaret, Ward reveals the depth of his sacrifice for the Enclave's goals in a few simple words.
I'm sorry, Margaret. I miss you.
Even if he could bring the old America back, he couldn't ever return his family. Reflecting on that in these scenes, Ward appears to get as close as he ever comes to questioning the choices that got him here. And the pain of losing his pre-war family isn't the end of Ward's sympathetic parallels to the player character, as the wound of his loss is salted by the Institute, just as it is for the player. We watch Ward perceptibly shaken when he comes face to face with a synth recreation of his daughter, Vanessa.
It can't be.
In a cruel twist, she taunts him like the player was taunted with a synth version of their own offspring, Sean.
What is this trickery? You're not Vanessa.
Hold on. Oh, this is rich. Yeah, I do know who you are. I gotta thank you. You're the reason we got here in the first place. Time for you to join that family of yours, Russ.
Go to hell!
Considering the unnatural torment that the Institute has put Ward through, when he is presented with a choice by Dr. Armstrong to co-opt the Institute instead of destroying it, we can understand why he is so difficult to persuade.
I should have you gunned down right here and now for the abominations you've created. Who are you? And what do you want?
And we may not want to persuade him, because we know the trauma that the Institute has inflicted on him firsthand.
I don't like this. That they are able to create exact copies of people is far too dangerous. They must be stopped.
And he may be right. But Ward's own loss, his own mistakes, and his own suffering don't prompt anything like compassion in him. The Commonwealth is full of people who know the kind of pain that Ward knows, but he can only feel disgust and push forward his plans to kill nearly every regular Wasteland resident, slowly and painfully, with a lung-destroying virus for which there is no hope of a cure.
Is it ready, Doctor?
It is, General. Just press the ignition.
The honor's yours, Major. Release the FEV. It's done. Now our FEV will saturate the Earth, and it is all thanks to you.
We have to ask ourselves if taking innocent mothers and daughters and sons and fathers away from each other will finally slake this immovable man's thirst for revenge on the world he actively helped to create. Will any of Ward's actions return the world to the one he remembers or bring back the family he sacrificed? There are some things we just don't know. But if we have learned anything, it is that Ward never changes. Thanks for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe for more content. I'll leave you with Ward's final words as you contemplate whether he is the right choice to shape the future of the Commonwealth.
200 years ago, our world was left forever changed. Nuclear hellfire swept across the land, taking with it our homes, our friends, our families. Our way of life gone in the blink of an eye. All that was left behind was a twisted world filled with lawlessness and vile mutations. Only one hope remained. Us. From a safety control station enclave, the greatest minds toiled away at a solution to the ailment our beautiful country suffered. That is, until the Brotherhood of Steel arrived. Mere moments before our finest hour, they destroyed it all. Thousands killed so that they could maintain their power. However, they were not prepared for the resilience of the Enclave. We have endured, we have persevered, and our work has continued. Now the Brotherhood of Steel is in disarray, their little elder and his airship reduced to nothing but ash. And not even the Institute, an organization feared by so many, could stand against our power. We are the undisputed power of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and this is simply the beginning. We will release the FEV, perfected by our own Dr. Kane, and with it we usher in the beginning of a new era. An era where mutants cease to be, an era where our America returns to us, an era of the Enclave. God bless America, and God bless the Enclave.